Have you ever heard the phrase, oh, they have the memory of or attention span of a goldfish, and thought to yourself, well, that's not very nice at all? Well, you're right, it's not that nice because goldfish are actually quite intelligent and have pretty good memories. But they're not the only fish species out there that are intelligent. In fact, many species of fish have behaviors that demonstrate their intelligence. And honestly, I think that's pretty fascinating. It's actually what got me into the aquarium hobby to begin with. And so that is what I'm going to be sharing with you today in this video. Hi there! Hillary here for Waterlogged on behalf of Saltwateraquariumdotcom. Like I said, I find fish behavior absolutely fascinating. So I've compiled a list of 4 different types of fish that demonstrate intelligence through the behaviors that we can see them making on a day-to-day basis in our tanks. Starting off with clownfish. I'd be willing to bet that if you've spent any time around clownfish, you know how territorial that they can be. A lot of times we want them to host the anemones that we offer them, but they end up hosting somewhere else in the tank. Good example of this, I've got a clownfish, and this shell right here is his home. He defends that with his life. If I'm going in to clean, he's defending it. He will pick up snails and boot them out. And so that behavior, that territorial behavior and acknowledgement of a place of home is a great example of their intelligence. Now, another example of clownfish intelligence through their behavior is with sound. Now, this isn't something that the average person could hear, but it does take place. Researchers have actually studied by putting hydrophones in the water and listening, and they found that the large females in a group, right before they attack, will emit a popping, clicking, chirping sort of noise to the nearby offender that they're about to attack. How cool is that, right? You can't tell me that's not a sign of intelligence. Let's move on to the next example, and that is lionfish. Now, zebra lionfish in particular have shown really interesting behaviors. When an individual finds a prey, it will flare out its fins as a way to tell others locally that it has found a source of food and basically invite them to come in. Now, this is a type of community behavior. It's a social interaction with others. And so it's really interesting because it is learned behavior. Now, this is one of the few behaviors, community learning that we see sometimes within saltwater fish, but I could honestly do a whole video on learned community behavior in freshwater fish, cichlids in particular. So if that is of interest to you, please leave a comment and let me know. I'd love to tell you more about that because it's really, really cool. Okay, let's move on to the next group of fish. And this is actually my favorite group of fish, and it's the pufferfish that what got me into the hobby to begin with. I used to have a freshwater puffer, and I would watch it follow me around the tank. And it was really, really interesting because I could see that it interacted differently with me than it did with other people that would come to the tank. And it made me realize, oh gosh, this isn't just a fish. Like, this is a very intelligent animal. And that kind of made me wonder. And so over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of puffers. And one of the things that I've gotten to do with them is train them. Now, this was a 117,000 gallon system that I would scuba dive to clean and to feed the fish. And in that large volume of water, the pufferfish knew that they had to come to me at a specific time when I was holding a sign. They had to touch the sign in order to get the food. Tell me that is not an intelligent animal. Now, I've got further proof that pufferfish are intelligent. You might have seen this in a documentary where the male pufferfish will make a love nest in the sand. And it's a very impressive work of art for such a small fish. But researchers actually went ahead and studied those nests, and what they found was really very impressive. So the outside edges of those love nests that the pufferfish made had a significantly higher velocity of water when they measured it, and it encountered a lot more shear stress on those outside edges. But when they got further into the center of that nest, both of those were reduced, making it the perfect place to lay eggs so that the eggs were protected from the extreme amounts of flow, but still had enough that they would be moved around and oxygenated while they grew. You can't tell me that that behavior is not incredibly intelligent. Okay, let's move on to the last and final group of animals that I feel do an excellent job of demonstrating intelligence, and that is cleaner wrasses. Now, there's recently been some more research that's been done on different types of cleaner wrasses, how they interact with others in their community that fill specific roles, but I'll save that for a future video. What I want to talk about specifically is the cleaner wrasses, the ones that a lot of times we see in our tanks. Now, back in 2019 and 2020, there were 2 tests that were done. What the 2019 study did was they took cleaner wrasses and they put a spot on their face, and then they stuck them in front of a mirror to see what the wrasse would do. And the wrasse would look at itself in the mirror, and then it would exhibit a fairly stressed behavior, and it would start flashing, trying to scrape away that spot on its face that it didn't have. And during this set of experiments, it exhibited many examples of cleaner wrasses being aware. That wasn't quite enough, so in a 2020 study, they continued and expanded on this. So wrasses can be aggressive towards others that they don't know. And in order to test this, they took photos of wrasses and they put a head from one wrasse on the body of another, and they showed the photos to a wrasse in a tank to see if it could recognize its own. And when it was presented with the one that looked familiar, it was very calm. But when they presented it with one that had a different face on it, even if it was familiar, they still showed signs of aggression. So this was further proof to illustrate that cleaner wrasses in particular have self-awareness, which is absolutely incredible to think of. There's not that many animals in the planet that have been known to be found self-aware, and to think that our very own cleaner wrasses are considered one of them is pretty cool. I don't know about you, but it makes me wonder how many other animals out there that we are keeping in our tanks on a regular basis that are incredibly intelligent, and we just don't know it yet. So if you have any stories of how intelligent the animals in your tanks are, please leave a comment. I absolutely am fascinated by this, and I would love to hear your stories and learn more. This has been Hillary for Waterlogged on behalf of Saltwateraquarium.com. Thank you so much for watching and letting me share some of my passions with you. I'll see you next time.